Just to set the tone and tenor of this talk, I thought that I would think about these two quotes by some great thinkers and philosophers. Confucius, everyone knows that we have two lives, and the second one begins when we realize that we only have one. And I think sooner people realize that we have only one life, the better. And the other one is the world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page, is the other perspective. So I just would like to leave you those two thoughts, very important. As you can see that travel is really important to broaden one's horizon and to have a wider world view. So these are the two thoughts that probably would inspire you to travel more, people who haven't been traveling. Now, talking about Ladakh, it's a true blend of unique culture and nature. When tourists come to Ladakh, they are not looking for Buddhist monasteries, festivals, but they are seeking the nature of Ladakh, which are really the, I would say, the unique selling point, if you will. And as I said, that I won't go in each one of them. What I would rather now talk about is the snow leopard tourism. Just before lunch, I was telling somebody that this tourism, snow leopard tourism, started way back in 2004-05. Before that, people came to Ladakh, spent months on end, but went back disappointed. They didn't see snow leopards that easily, but everything changed around that time when a National Geographic film was shot in Ladakh, and they hired some local youth and they gave a lot of bonuses if somebody spotted a snow leopard. And that is when it started. Before that, people spent months in isolated valleys in Ladakh, but they did not see snow leopard. But that's a thing of the past. Today, people come to Ladakh for a week, 10 days, and they go back quite happy, seeing a snow leopard, and with that lot of culture. So what we have been doing, how we have been developing this product is that we go to these places wherever villagers have a snow leopard, they get all these benefits through some of our programs. Their nature gets conserved, culture gets preserved, urban drift is stopped, which is a problem not only in Ladakh, but I know in Uttarakhand, but in many other Himalayan states. A lot of our youth are moving away from our rural areas, and this is a way to keep the youth in the villages, showing snow leopard the natural wealth and the cultural wealth, and that is what we have been able to achieve in these last couple of decades. And it empowers women. Everyone knows that the conservation-linked homestays was started in Ladakh, and this was the only this organization that had pioneered the homestay concept, and that is flourishing today. Various other agencies and organizations also have taken up and making it more popular and more effective. And it also helps in educating children when, through the revenue generated through the snow leopard tourism. As I said, there are a lot of products. I won't get into them. The way forward, till now, tourism in Ladakh happened. There was no action, no active promotion, but now that has to change. The way forward, there's this beautiful saying or a quote by a great thinker, Wendell Berry: when we no longer know what to do, we have come to the real work. When we no longer know which way to take, we have begun our real journey. And that is where we are. It is truly at that juncture when we have to take a lot of decisions. As I said, that tourism in the past in Ladakh happened organically, it grew organically, but now things are not hunky-dory. We need to recognize that and understand what is happening. If you do not know the problem, you cannot find good solutions, and that is what we are talking about here. How many of you have visited Ladakh, by the way? Just wondering. Okay, that's almost 30–40%. And how many of you have visited Hanle? Okay, again the same number. So all of you who went to Ladakh visited the Hanle Valley. And no wonder, because Hanle Valley has been now projected as the destination to visit in Ladakh. And there are 2–3 reasons for that. One is the recently built, the highest motorable road in the world. So Ladakh broke its own record for being the place with the highest motorable road. And the Hanle Valley is also declared as a dark sky reserve, and it's a wildlife sanctuary. We have some beautiful creatures living in this valley. One of them is a species called the Palace's cat, and I don't know how many of you, so I won't ask you because I don't have much time to really see, do that assessment, but I'm sure many of you might have seen that cat. The snow leopard, Ladakh is known for snow leopards, but it's also, it has some beautiful other creatures. And from now on, my talk would have an undertone, an ecological undertone. So you'll realize that, because I'm not a tourism expert. I've been trained as an ecologist, so let me talk about that. And I think that's a more unique perspective that I can bring to this table. And so, a couple of years ago, a Palace's cat's cub was run down by a speeding car in the Hanle Valley. There is a population of about 10 Palace's cats in that valley, and that means 10% of the population was gone in 1 year. And now just you can imagine, and this is because of the improvement of all the infrastructure, the road. Somebody was telling in one of the previous sessions that it's better if you have all the road conditions bad, and I think that rings true for this area also, because really nice road, so people are just speeding there, be it tourists, military personnel, locals, laborers, they all go there. And 1% of that species is gone, and that is very sad. I think we call ourselves the most intelligent species on the planet, and if that is something that we cannot take care of, it being such an important species for the ecosystem services that we receive, and also the economic incentives that local communities are getting, despite that, if we cannot manage such a small population of these species, then I think that is very unfortunate. The other thing is that I'm sure that whoever you visited Ladakh, they visited in the summer, and summer is the season when the migratory birds also visit Ladakh. They go back to the plains in the winter, they come back in the summer, And so there is a very high level of overlap, both spatial overlap and temporal overlap between migratory birds and tourists, right? So all the tourists, all the military personnel, laborers, locals, everyone want to go to places like this, some of these beautiful wetlands and green pastures to camp, picnic, and have a good time. And these are the places, again, which are used by these migratory birds, very important. I will, I don't have much time, but I would like to tell you this story that there are migratory birds coming to Ladakh, crossing peaks of more than 7,000 meters every year. And we talk about lack of oxygen, high altitude sickness. These birds do that every year. They face very difficult situations and they come to places like Ladakh. Several years ago, I was studying the bird migration across the Himalayas. We found some individual birds spending sometimes up to a week in the middle of nowhere, just in the Gobi Desert. On a satellite map, everything is barren, dry, so we wondered why they stopped there. When we went and visited those places, even in these dry places in the desert, there's a spurt of rainfall and a small ephemeral pool gets created for a week, and these birds are stopping there to feed on the invertebrate that are growing in those little pools just for a week. Now, with that, imagine if those little places hold high significance for these migratory birds, then look at these wetlands, how important these wetlands would be for these birds. They are just so significant. And that is something that all tourists, locals, everyone needs to understand, that there are species other than humans who are also trying to eke out a living from these kind of very challenging and unyielding land, and that is something that we often ignore. So now, just segueing into a similar, the responsible tourism that we talk about so much. And I have a simple question. We have been defining all these different types of tourism, and today, in fact, there are so many buzzwords that people simply get confused. Responsible tourism, green tourism, sustainable tourism, this tourism, that tourism. A lot of people are bogged down by all these buzzwords and things that oftentimes they don't understand, right? So what is the definition of responsible tourism, if I might ask you? According to the many of the tourism experts, they say that responsible tourism means to create better destinations for tourists and to create better living spaces for the local communities or the local people. Now, my simple question to you is that enough? Is that adequate? Is that enough? Yes, no? No, right? So what is missing in this equation? No. The wild animals, I told you that the whole talk now would have an ecological undertone. The wild animals were completely ignoring the importance of the snow leopard. If the snow leopards are not there, the population of the mountain sheep and goats will explode, and that will lead to overgrazing, and that would lead to flooding, and tourists would be affected by those floods also, and we have seen that in recent years, right? And so that is on one side of the spectrum. On the other side, you have all these bacteria in some of the wetlands and the meadows that I showed you. There are bacteria living in those green patches that are latching heavy metals. They are cleaning our waterways. They are cleaning our water, cleaning our air. We have absolutely no understanding with that. We do not pay any attention to them, and that is very unfortunate, and I think that is very dangerous for us, like, as a society, how we want to kind of live in a place without any consideration for this, often at our own peril. And so this is what is missing. So all the tourism pundits talk about responsible tourism, and not a single time these wild animals feature in many of these documents. And that shows that we just take a anthropocentric approach to this whole thing, and we are basically selfish and greedy people. We just think about our own well-being and our own happiness, and we have no consideration for these wild animals, and that's often at our own peril, as I said. That should not be done. I think we need to be more accommodative for our own benefit and for our own well-being is something that I wanted to convey. And coming back to the Himalayas, and I think it's not just true about the Himalayas, but across the world, the cultural erosion of the cultural values among our youth. When we ask our youth today what their needs and what their aspirations are, well, when we ask them, do they respond to moral and social incentives? No. Do they respond to economic incentives? Definitely yes. And that is where lies the problem. We have the Adanis and Ambanis as role models. There's no limit to their selfishness and no limit to their want. A great Buddhist philosopher had once said that he is the richest person on the planet who knows the upper limit of his wealth. If somebody doesn't know that, no matter what he gets, even if he gets the entire world, he won't be satisfied. And that is human nature. So each one of us, it's an individual game. We need to set that limit. This is my limit. I need 2 houses. I need 2 cars, and that's about it. And I'm having a good time. I also need to let other people and let other species also enjoy and have the same kind of happiness that I would like to have for myself. And that is, I think, the moral values, the social values, that's what we are talking about. We had that in abundance in the Himalayas all across, but we have lost that, unfortunately. And how we regain that, how we take those back is something that all of us need to sit and think together. Aspirations, is it about knowledge and wisdom? No, they don't care whether they know about all of these. The bacteria are living there or not. They simply do not care as long as they are getting some profits, getting some money. That is not enough. I think if you really want to progress as a society, as a country, then I think all of these little things need to be thought through. Development. I often call these the 3 H's of development, and how we need to convert these 3 H's to 3 S's. In the mountains, I'm sure in Uttarakhand also, when we talk about development, there are some people coming from thousands of kilometers away, and they take all the calls. They decide everything. They don't need to consult to the local people. They just do everything because there's some money lying there. We need to finish it off, and they just go in a rush and then develop something humongous which has no value for the society, no value for the villagers, no value for the wild animals. But simply there's some money, they just do that, right? And so hasty, we do everything in a rush, and we do everything with this air that I know it all, I don't need to go. I have been to some of the top technology institutes, the MBAs. I know everything. I don't need to consult the local communities. And then haphazard. It's quite haphazard that way. And so that needs to be slow, sensible. It should make ecological sense. It should make cultural sense. And then by default, it can be sustainable. So that is my mantra of development. lastly, I'll just leave with this, the sustainability that is, what is sustainability, by the way? Sustainability is it is coming from this root word called sustain means to support, right? So we should be supporting the ecology, we should be supporting the culture, we should be supporting the economy. Above all, we should think about the well-being of the people. So for me, these four are the pillars of sustainability. Start something very small, see how it goes, whether that's truly benefiting you, your neighborhood, the villagers, and the society at large, and then scale it up slowly, looking at the impact on the ecology, looking at the impact on the society, culture, whatever you care about. You look at the impact on those things, and always use local resources, right? If you transport in resources from thousands of kilometers away, by default, that's going to have environmental cost. And I'll just share one more story if you have time, that in Ladakh today, there is this, people are really with great excitement, enthusiasm, they talk about converting Ladakh into an organic state, although a lot of people do not really have any idea how to do that. But what is happening, the government is putting a lot of money to start homestays, and they're making it mandatory to have flush toilets. Somebody was mentioning a little earlier, and what does that do? That kind of puts all the night soil, the manure, that were such great nutrients for the fields, the crops, all of them, that is now getting drained into the ground, and it contaminates the groundwater, right? And to make Ladakh organic, they are importing all these manure from thousands of kilometers away, and at all the environmental cost. The trucks that bring all this manure, they stop at some of these high passes, and they spew carbon, and that carbon goes and settles on the glaciers, right? And then people complain that the glaciers are melting. So we are making the glaciers melt, right? So this really does not make sense to trying to find a solution. You create 10 more problems, right? So these are the things that we need to really think about. And in the end, I would just say that at the center of it should be the well-being of the people, the local people, and then economy, ecology, and education. The 3 E's of tourism, I call them. It's very important. You think about these 3 things, the 3 E's. That is the economy. Of course, it should make economic sense. It should benefit the local communities, but then always not at the cost or expense of the ecology. Because if the ecology is compromised, then you can never have a good livelihood and a good economy running. And the last E is that all of us in this country need to educate our children, because whatever happened till now happened. We need to have better citizens in the future. The next generation should do things sensibly. So that is the education part. I think we are not doing that enough. We need to go to schools and colleges and really tell them and teach them how to travel. Travel to learn, learn to travel. And that's all I have today in this short time. Thank you so much for your attention.